The concerns about the road reinstatement, but I just want to ask one specific question, I'll tell you why I ask in these questions, because sometimes you may have an issue that could impact otherwise. I call it double jeopardy. I'll give you an example. I'm talking about the whole between light pole 63 and 65 in La Fortune Road, which is still to be repaired definitively. And the example I'll give you is on the 28th of September, going down to Faizabad, as you often do, and the creek had water, no fault of anyone, the tides and so on. But the alternate route, of course, is to go through woodland. So I turned around, attempted to go through woodland Friday evening, and there's a huge traffic jam. And the cause of the traffic jam is that when the vehicles reached that single hole in the road, everyone had to stop. It became literally a one-way. So the question really is whether there's any sort of prioritization in terms of these repairs. I'm just drawing the example of what could happen just with one single hole, creating, so much trauma for residents going to Faizabad, Labri, and Point 14 that evening.
And again, and I want the listening public, the members, to understand the whole issue of restoration, and I agree there need to be WASA, and the WASA management needs to be a little bit more focused on that and making those types of decisions. We do have a CEO of WASA, and we run an organization of WASA, and I mean, as the minister, I am responsible to give direction, and they have that type of direction and focus, because I agree with you, there are times when you could fix a road, and there's a particular one that you should be able to have a judgment, I need to fix immediately. It's on a high, busy roadway. There was one area that they left overnight. You had a traffic going in the morning on the Maraval Road. You had a backup of traffic. Children got to school late. So there is a prioritization and a sensitivity that I am continuing to bring to the people at WASA, that they are serving individuals. It's a work in progress. Have I solved all the problems? Am I 100% comfortable that they are responding as fast as they should and putting that level of priority? I don't think so, but it continues to be a work in progress, and I continue to work on trying to improve that level of sensitivity and getting the job done as best as they can.
So, Minister, can the public have the assurance that that particular piece of work will be done as a matter of now?
Well, on that particular piece of work, again, like all members of the opposition, all members of the public, where you have things in your particular constituency that you would like to bring to my personal attention, then feel free, as you all do. And when you bring them, you are rest assured that I try my best to put them on a priority and get it done. So continue to do that, and I continue to press WASA to try to make life and to be a little bit more sensitive to what they are doing and the impact that it is having. So bring it across to me, send it to me, and I will try.
This intervention as having brought it across to you now.
Well, you need to then
give you more details.
You need to give me more details and so forth. Sure. I'm not in a note-taking mode.
Sure.
Member for Shogunas West, we revert to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With respect to line item 68, water trucking, Minister,
yes.
Could you indicate whether or not there are any arrears owed to water trucking contractors?
I am sure that
Could you provide a listing of those contractors and the arrears owed to them?
Yes, I will gladly be able to provide some of the arrears. And I'm sure of that 48 million, some of that, as I said, I think there is an increased allocation this year, all right, for the payment. There is an increased allocation because we do expect, based on where we are seeing with the level of dams, and as much as I appreciate the advice with regard to changing the lines, again, it all comes down to money, and I understand that, and we do have those lines earmarked to be changed. So part of this 48 is to pay some of that arrears, and part is also to increase the water trucking, the efficiency of the water trucking system, so that we could cater for the impending problem that might be coming up in 2020. But I will provide the information to you.
With respect to the impending problem, Honorable Minister, is there a dry season management plan in place currently for that impending dry season? Because I noticed that you keep on speaking of it. But I just want to know, what is the plan, if there's a plan in place? Because I see somewhere in the documentation, whereas there was about $269,000 for a dry season management plan, there's currently no allocation.
Well, that's because the dry season management plan that was being worked on, there's no need for payment for it anymore. So it has been paid for, and therefore it should be delivered. That being said, there is as you know, we do expect, based on the severe dry season that we went through last year, and where we are projecting the levels of the dams this year, we might not be starting the year at the level we should be with regard to the dams. So we have been heightening the awareness on conservation, and we do have a plan with regard to increasing groundwater. We are busy drilling some wells. We will see some work in our development program. We have been working on our booster stations because, as you know, part of the problem in Trinidad and Tobago is not so much that we don't have enough water. We do produce a lot of water. The problem is we have not been able to move that water around the country as effectively as we should. Because we don't need to be drilling, but so the plan deals with certain isolated communities trying to get some increased groundwater, trying to increase the production of the wells by reinstatement of the wells, trying to increase our booster stations to move water that we have now to different areas, and also water trucking, also trying to encourage individuals to conserve. I mean, you know that one of the problems, the levels of consumption, and I always say that, the levels of consumption of water in Trinidad is way, way, way above anywhere else in the Caribbean or where a lot of the countries in the world. There's nowhere else in the world where people use the level of consumption that we do, and there is 24/7 water. So the fixing of the problem is multifaceted, and we are working on a plan to deal with all aspects of it.
Member for Caroni East.
Madam Chair, thank you. I wanted to ask this question on number 12. It takes up a significant percentage of your budget. It's about $650 million. That's
12.
Materials and supplies. Page 189. Just give a little idea of the major components of that expenditure. What would that, the money being bought for, what materials?
Estimates for this year? It's 319,000.
Yeah, 319 million.
Million, yes.
Yeah. But last year, 649 million was spent.
Right. That, in that area, what you do there, that's where the reduction of the 300 million, the Minister of Finance spoke. Not sure we want to go back on that debate. But that 300 million is really, it's on that line item that we pay approximately 72 million US for water for desalination. And that reduction there is partly as a result of utilizing to pay desalinated water via other process and not through materials and supplies.
All right. So what?
So one of your major expenditure previously that was done in that line is not going to be done there anymore.
Well, what constitutes the other aspect of it to make up the 319 million? Pipelines and so on.
Chemicals. There is another desalination plant water that we pay, right? Pipeline materials. Chemicals for the chlorinating of the water, etc.
Thank you.
Member for Orange East.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good morning to colleagues and Minister.
Good morning and welcome.
Thank you very much. We had a bit of traffic. You'd be happy to know it wasn't WASA related. Focusing on page 190, 68 and 69, and Minister, you would agree that this would take up some time given the problems that members of Parliament face on a daily basis. I just wanted to use an example. During the exercise this morning, a constituent, Mr. Kanhai from Mohis Road, sent a note to me to remind me, but to also raise in the meeting that in Mohis Road, in my constituency of Appropriation, we have had several leaks along that road for almost 6 months. And it has made the situation extremely horrible for motorists and villagers in that area. When the roads are not repaired and the cars are passing there and so on, it becomes like an obstacle course and increasing, the cost of living and the amount of money people spend on repairing cars and so on. Now, it's a problem you'll have right through. And I wanted to ask you, Minister, you clearly have the right talk and the right management speak and understand the issue. If you would focus along with WASA, and this is not a complaint about WASA because the officials of WASA by and large respond, very positive in a positive way to myself at least and other colleagues and so on. But when you hear complaints from residents about leaks and road and water and so on, they generally are not satisfied with the responsiveness of the WASA. And you, because of your background and professional work in the past and so on, more than probably others could understand the importance of feedback, communication, and engagement. The issue is really engagement, because there are some problems that you'll be able to fix. There are some you will not be able to fix in the short term and so on. But I think the community engagement, this ability to relate to people and hear from them is very important. Now, I'm not inviting you to put out 684 Hunt, 4868 and ask everybody to call you. I mean, you may not have that where at all. But if you could look and work with WASA from the ministry and WASA to come up with new, innovative, novel, low-cost ways of keeping in touch with people who have their problems. Sometimes people complain, and their complaint, yes, is that they leak and so on. But they complain more because they feel that nobody is hearing, nobody is responding, and effectively nobody cares. And I think state agencies like WASA and others too, and the ministry has a central role to play, should really come up with new strategies for community engagement to ensure that people who are facing problems and conflict-oriented in particular, you engage with them so that as you work towards solutions, they are kept informed. A simple thing, somebody complains about no water, you call them back. You call back a day or two after to assure that, look, we may not be able to deal with it today, but in 2 days we'll deal with it. You don't have water for 2 weeks, you're on the Congo village on the hill, you don't have water 2-3 weeks. We know that. We are hoping by Saturday you'll have a supply for 4 hours. That is what I'm talking about, and on the ground I think that is missing.
And I agree 100%. And again, we have been in partly recognition of that. One of the things that I'm glad that your residents is saying that yes, but he is indirectly saying what he would have talked about 2 or 3 months ago or 2 or 3 years ago, is that there were 6 or 8 leaks that have not been attended to. And therefore, now he is saying, as you heard, that the leaks are probably fixed, but the road hasn't been reinstated. So I agree that is part of the new issue that we have to deal with. The idea of sensitizing WASA to that aspect of being a little bit more sensitive to the public needs and getting out. What we have started in the ministry to partly deal with that, we had something called a utility outreach program. Because I agree, what we need to do is to get some of these CEOs of these utilities out there facing the public and letting them hear from the public directly what is the nature of their problems and let them feel the public's pain. So we have actually gone, we have some more areas to do, where we go to the communities with the CEOs themselves and let the public tell the CEOs exactly what is going on and what it is. And that I have seen a certain increase as we put them more on the spot with all their managers. Because I think there's a little disconnect, and it's one of the things that we have been working on, or I have been working on, in trying to improve that level of service and connection, because that's what the public wants, a better feedback. And I didn't have to put out 6-2 Hunt, because, your colleague, Devon Maraj, kind of did that for me. So now everyone already... already call me, and I am called upon to have to deal with all of these issues. So it's not a problem. He saved me actually having to get a number.
You should give him an award for public service. Helping.
Member for Couva South.
Thank you. Madam Chair, you have moved into current transfers and subsidies?
No, not as yet.
Okay.
Member for Oropouche West?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Minister, before I proceed with my substantive question, I'd like to piggyback on Oropouche East and to just inform you that many constituents in San Francisco, in Durbassa, Trace Woodland, for 21 continuous days, they don't have water. Apparently, the schedule that is prescribed does not work. So I just need to put that on
For
record.
21 continuous
Continuous
days,
days.
and that is totally unacceptable.
I'm not sure if anything question was asked on line 23, Madam Chair, with fees, 2-3. I could proceed.
20.
And Honourable Minister, when we look
23.
at the revised estimates for 2019, we are seeing it's 15 million, and 2020 estimates is over 21 million. So there's an increase of over 6 million. What does that represent, and to whom those fees are paid to?
Part of running WASA, there's a lot of litigation and increased litigations for some payments not made. We have inherited a number of work that was done that are now under review as to allocations, as to why this work was done. We can't seem to, there is verification of that particular work that sometimes we are not satisfied that appropriate documentations were put in place. And therefore, these are legal fees for litigation and dealing with some of the claims that WASA has determined in a number of areas that contracts were given, payments were made, or contracts were given, and there are differences between our view of the contracts and whether or not they should have been given, or what was the process, or whether the work was actually done. And of course, you have the other side of that story. So this is really dealing with those legal matters.
Honourable Minister, don't you have in-house attorneys to deal with this, or is it that they are outsourced, the
Well,
attorneys?
as you would recognize, the amount of these litigations, sometimes you're not justified to deal with them internally. You could try to deal with some of them internally, but some of them require, and you have different types of lawyers, and some of them require you to get external counsel.
Member for Faizabad?
To follow up on my colleague from Oropouche East, in terms of the interaction between WASA and the public. Now, the regional health authorities, for example, have a public, they are mandated by law to have a public board meeting every year, which is interactive.
Mm-hmm.
The authority accounts to the public, and likewise the public can ask direct questions. Is WASA mandated to do the same?
No, and therefore, no, they're not. But what I'm saying is that what we have done within the ministry is to have this outreach program. And I will definitely be, I'm sure we will be coming to some of this program, will come to some of your constituencies. But it really is where the utilities, we actually go out with not only WASA, we go with the CEO of TNTech, WASA, TT Post, and we try to ascertain from the public their complaints with the service to our utility sector. I will also say that one of the problems that one of the projects that we are also launching very soon is a very innovative program called Tell Us, digital feedback program, again with the utilities, because customer service to me is critical. And again, I'm going to be launching a program whereby we hope we will be able to get better feedback to the utilities on the levels of service. We have set standards as to what is the level we consider that a utility should be providing. And by the program will allow for, by the end of the day, based on feedback from the public, I would be able to know, as the minister, what was the level of service in all of my utilities at the end of the day, and whether or not they have met the targeted score, and which particular utility is faulting, and therefore what particular branch is actually not performing. It's actually going to be a good program that I hope will help to revolutionize the levels of service and give the population an opportunity to provide direct feedback on the service that they're getting. So we are going to be doing that, and hopefully we'll be launching that program before the end of the year.
Subhead 03, minor equipment purchases, we're at page 190. Item 001, general administration. Subhead 04, current transfers and subsidies. Item 007, households, Couva South, this is where you're at? Yes, please. Item 007, households, member for Couva South.
Minister, under 01 contribution to the daily paid pension plan, could you just elaborate why there's an increased allocation of $3,405,000 to that plan? And in terms of way leave, and in the 2020 estimates, it has moved from 100,000 to $4 million. And just for the benefit of the listening public or viewing public and so on, what way leave is?
I mean, basically the allocation is the 14.4 million that is estimated for 20 is based on a total of 1,550 daily rated employees and the contribution that is needed for them. So we have used the actual number of 1,550 employees and worked out the contribution, the mathematical contribution. So that's what that figure is.
This was determined by who, the actuaries to the plan, or this is WASA's contribution?
This is WASA's contribution to the plan.
And it was based on an actuarial valuation report?
Well, it's based on their estimate of what they need to be paid towards the plan. I don't think they've contributed to this plan annually. So the number of employees vary from time, and this is the actual estimate that is felt, that is paid towards the plan, based on WASA's contracted contribution.
So the plan, there's no deficit to the plan?
Based on I am not aware of that. I have been advised, no, there are no deficit.
Okay, thank you very much. And the other question on the 05 way leave.
This increase is related to an anticipated 11 acquisitions, namely Scott Road, Penal, Waterwell, Lobin Road, Brothers Road, Waterwell, Claude Noel Highway, Caratal Waterwell. So it's works that will be done on some water wells.
As I said, just for the benefit of the
purchase of land. Yeah, it's the purchase of land that we need to do to facilitate these water wells.
Finished? Member for Couva South? Yeah. Okay. Member for Caroni Central?
General question on the debt here. Minister, I don't know if you would know it in your head, or maybe you can give it to us in writing, which is that, do you know what the total WASA debt is?
Okay, so we under current transfers and subsidies. Maybe you might want to take that under 009. We're under 007.
Oh,
okay?
Okay,
So
sorry,
I'll call
sorry,
you back
Madam
then.
Speaker.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Member for Shogunas West?
Oh, I'm under 009.
Okay, so then we go on. 009, other transfers, Caroni Central.
Well, I'll just re-ask the question,
Yes.
if the minister can answer.
The total WASA debt.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'll probably need to give you an accurate figure. I will give it to you. I wouldn't want to hug it. I have it in my mind, but I want to make sure.
If you can indicate, I will be grateful.
Yes.
All right? Thank you.
Okay.
Member for Shogunas West?
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 02, settlement of claims. There is an increase of 3 million from the allocation in revised estimate in 2019 of 3 million. It is now 6 million. What is the nature of this settlement? Is it the damage to properties, or is it contractor claims?
It's a combination. This provides for litigation for outstanding monies owed by contractors, public liability claims resulting from damage to properties, and industrial relations matters such as claims made against the authority by the public, and include claims for personal injury claims, damage to property, crops, vehicles, wrongful disconnections, and excessive billing, and industrial relations matters also result in claims. So there are varied items that could result in claims, and they vary from industrial relations claims to overpayment, overcharging of bills, to damage of properties. So that is an allocation, and the one anticipates based on the claims that you have. You look at the year before, look at what is in the pipeline, and you make a determination.
Honorable Minister, could you provide a listing in writing of the litigation claims against the Water and Sewage Authority?
Okay, sure. Sure, that could be provided.
Member for Karen East.
Yeah. Honorable Minister, line item 01, depreciation. It's a very significant amount. This year is $327 million. Is that a depreciation on what asset? And what your accounting principles there would allow for what percentage depreciation on your assets? What are the assets that...
Well, you know, as we bring in new assets, I mean, a big part is that water treatment plant of Malabar. Right? So therefore, while it's in progress, not waste treatment plant, well, sorry, not water, waste treatment plant. So while it's being built, it's one thing. When it's completed, then you have to start to depreciate it. And therefore, we just commissioned it. It is now complete. So you will now have an increased charge for depreciation on that. That's why that increase is going. Because it's now moved from a work in progress to a completed project. And now it's completed, you start to depreciate. And that figure will go up as we do the waste treatment plant in San Fernando gets completed. All right, that will also go up. The work that we have done in Tobago, as those plants are being completed, you will see depreciation on those plants, which is the wear and tear. The non-cash items will continue to go up.
Fulfill the conditional.
What period of time these assets will be depreciated and
depreciated over? I can't say. The accounting firm is what? Who are we using? Ernst & Young? Yes, our accounting firm is Ernst & Young, and I can't say. I mean, if you really need it, I could probably give you an idea.
No, I just want to have an appreciation of it,
No,
really not the details of it.
No.
But just, Madam Chair, just further to Member for Caroni Central, I see that another major component of the ministry's expenditure on WASA is interest payments. Mm-hmm. And from what I summarize here is approximately $250 million. So I remember Prime Minister Manning saying that WASA is a 28 billion headache. So we empathize with all ministers with WASA, but we really would like, from a population point of view, a national point of view, to really have an extent where we are with loans that WASA have to repay and so on over a period of time. Right. So we could know where we are as a country.
So just, I've gotten a figure calculated on the debt. WASA debt is in the vicinity of about $3 billion that is being paid. You're right. The country over the years has spent significant amount of money in fixing or trying to fix WASA. I think it was said, actually, the figure that was used in the budget was as much as 10 billion over a period. So there's a lot of money that we have recurrent expenditure and capital expenditure that has gone to where we are. So a lot of the citizens of this country who complain about the service, this is where we are after spending that amount of money. And therefore, we really need to look at dealing with WASA in a number of different areas. And WASA problem is centered around the aspect of conservation and demand management is one of the areas that we have not spent as much money as I think we should have. So, for example, we still run as a country with only 5% of this country is the country metered. So that is an area that not much money was spent. We have done some work in putting down some bulk meters this year, but the country needs to be metered. And by country being metered, then you will find that the amount of water that individuals use by virtue of being a little bit more conscious and having to pay for it will actually reduce. There are too much individuals, and I'm not saying that they do it deliberately. There are leaks in their own homes, drips, and they do not fix it. As a result of that, you keep having to produce water to solve the shortage problem, because a lot of water is wasted, or a lot of water goes unaccounted for and not paid for. So yes, we have 3 billion, and we probably will need to spend, if you want to meter the country, you probably need to spend about another 1.5 billion. But I think to solve the problem, that is one area that we haven't spent money in, and we need to spend money in that particular area. Because spending money in production and putting the water through the porous lines, that's not the solution. So the solution to me centers around trying to fix the lines and also trying to demand management issues, focusing on metering the country. And I feel, therefore, you will then go a long way in making sure that the water that we presently have will be able to satisfy our needs. So that's the plan going forward.
All right, I'll probably go later on. Thank you very much, Minister.
Okay, so we go on to 55, Regulated Industries Commission. This is on page 209. Subhead 01, Personnel Expenditure. Item 001, General Administration. Subhead 02, Goods and Services. Item 001, General Administration. Subhead 003, Minor Equipment Purchases. Item 001, General Administration. On page 210. Subhead 04, Current Transfers and Subsidies. Item 007, Households. Item 009, Other Transfers. Honorable members, we will now move on to the draft estimates of development program. Page 90. Subhead 09, Development Program, Consolidated Fund. Item 003, Economic Infrastructure. Honorable members, item 003 spans 5 pages. Therefore, I will also announce the project groups. A, Electricity, which you'll find on pages 90 to 91. Member for Kamuto Manzanilla.
Chair. Honorable Minister, under line item 586, could the Minister, I don't need it now, but could the Minister indicate whether there is any intention to light any recreation ground in my constituency of Kamuto Manzanilla, please? Thank you.
Well,
Oh,
no, you said you don't need it now. That's fine.
If you don't, yeah, right.
Member for Chaguanas East.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line item 599. Could you give us a little bit of information with respect to that line item? And based on what you said, then I'll ask subsequent questions, if necessary.
599.
Special skills training.
It's the last item on page 90.
Well,
It's a new project.
5 million for skills.
Yeah, 5
As you,
million
said,
into-
as you said, I mean, and my colleague, you know, SDG 12 speaks to sustainable consumption. And we are looking at developing, and then when you talk about sustainable consumption, it speaks to, in this particular area, we're looking at using graduates and training them in an outreach program and activity to meet government's mandate to increase the level of conservation throughout the utility sector in keeping with our energy efficiency and energy conservation policy development.
Okay. Can I ask? Thank you, Madam Chair. How many graduates are we thinking about here?
Again, the program, we're probably thinking about trying to see if we need about 100 in the first case, and see how the program develops, and developing them in this whole area of energy, as I said, energy efficiency, energy conservation, and trying to utilize those skills. Because we recognize that that is an area, that whole idea of conservation in all our utilities, both in the electricity side and also the water side. We need to spend some focus there because we can't continue producing, all right? It costs a lot to produce, and therefore the whole idea of conservation and demand management issues are important.
Will this be done in-house, or will it be through a TLI, an institution of tertiary education? Is it an in-house skill training, or?
Yes, it's more
in-house skills training.
It's in-house skills training.
And can you give us a sense so that we can at least be advised as members of parliament when you propose that this might start?
I will definitely do so.
Okay. Do you have any sense of the duration of it, how long it might take? If you, you don't have to give it to me today if you don't have it. If you could send me the training design, I'll be able to make some sense of it.
Okay.
All right. Member for Carney Central, I'm not sure if I saw your hand.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Member for Couva South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With respect to lighting of parks and recreational grounds, of 586, there's an increased allocation of $10 million, and I hope that in this $10 million, the minister can find some monies for the Bocaro Recreation Ground and the Esperanza Recreation Ground. And in addition to that, Minister, I don't know if with respect to the National Street Lighting Program, the estimate is to spend $10 million. From time to time, I have observed on, for example, a number of the, for example, the Couva Presal interchange, the cremation site road in Caroni, and a number of areas you drive around from time to time, the Rivulet Road. And there are wide expanses where sometimes you see 10, 20 streetlights that are out, and in this high crime environment and so on, I would really ask of you to use your office to continue to press upon TNTech the importance of street lighting repairs and so on.
Okay, I will pass the sentiments over to TNTech, and again, if there are any areas, continue to let me know so that we could then look at them and we could then see how we could factor them in the program. Of course, we have limited cash, and we're trying to, again, as keeping with our mantra, trying to do more with less, you know?
Normally when my office contacts the office of the general manager of TNTech and so on, there is a positive response, but I'm just pressing the case because I've observed it, and I continue to call for that.
Well, I'm grateful, and I'm glad to hear that the TNTech manager responds to you in a very prompt manner.
Well, his secretary and so on passes on the appropriate messages to him from time to time.
I am glad to hear that you are happy with the service that you get from TNTech.
Member for Couva North.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, line item 590, illumination of grounds of police stations. I see that this is a reactivated project and you have allocated for 2020 400,000. Can you say how many police stations and where you intend to implement this project?
We normally do this upon request. That's why there's a small allocation there. We anticipate that we might have to, and it's upon request.
So can you say now how many police stations and where? Or
Right now,
yeah. If not, you can let me know in writing. Let us know in writing.
the amount
later.
that you...
Yeah.
Okay.
Where and how many?
So the allocation that we have will handle about up to 5.
Right.
Right? We don't, as I said, it's upon request. We
Okay.
have catered for 5.
All right.
And therefore, we wait for
Of
the
course.
request to deal with it.
No
Because we
problem.
recognize that it's important.
Okay, thank you.
Member for Karen East.
Line item 596, Honorable Minister,
596.
which is replacement of aging transmission infrastructure. It's a parallel to the transmission, but generation. There's the former generation plant on Wrightson Road, which has been closed for reasons that I think is beneficial because it's not efficient. What has happened to that in terms, is it going to just sit there, and or what are the plans of TNTech as far as that compound is concerned?
Well, I think that, as I said, that plant is closed. I think that plant is under PowerGen, and they have a responsibility to dismantle it. TNTech is not taking any power from the plant. It is a power plant, and therefore it is being dismantled. And appropriate contract is being put in place to make sure that happens.
So you've had discussions with PowerGen on
Yes,
this
and
matter?
based on my understanding, that the dismantling of that will start in 2020.
Just let me make the point here, Madam Chairman.
Yeah.
In the period of the UNC government, the agreement for the decommissioning of that plant was changed to put the burden of risk on the government and the cost of environmental remediation on the government. That was previously to be shared by the parties. Your government put the entire cost and the entire burden of environmental remediation on the government, which has posed a significant challenge in terms of dismantling that plant.
Well, I can
It's
tell
a
you
huge
that
cost in millions of dollars.
I can tell you the movement of that plant under the PNM administration to PowerGen was a loss for TNTech. And where PowerGen now had been generating the power, TNTech suffered major losses as a result of having lost that plant. And that occurred in the late 1990s. It occurred when a decision was taken by a PNM administration to remove that that TNTech generating plant and give it over to PowerGen. So you must be reminded of that as well.
We in
Minister,
2019.
I want to echo the sentiments of my colleague. Your CEO has been very helpful, but may I make a plug for a more effective communication system when there is downtime in electricity, when there's outages, where there are outages, people find difficulty in understanding approximate time for when the electricity can come back. There is a weakness in that area, and perhaps this needs to be looked at very carefully.
All right, definitely. I mean, but the uptime efficiency of TNTech has actually, I monitor it from that perspective, and it has actually been very good. However, I agree with you. Even if it comes back fairly quickly, people, when they call, they need to know beforehand how long it will take. And that is always something that we continue to push. But I'm sure also, and that's why, as I mentioned before, that our Tell Us program, whereby we will be interfacing and getting better feedback to be able to provide all the utilities, WASA, TNTech, TSTT, TT Post, with a little bit more updated information. That's why I'm anxious to put that program out there in the system.
Right, okay.
For Couva South.
Yes, sir. Minister, 599, Special Skills Training for Energy Conservation. $5 million allocation is a new project. Can you give details of this particular project, what it will entail, who are the consultants and so on? I do not know.
We answered that already. I passed that information, was asked by Tabake. Yes, Shogunas East.
Okay, member for Shogunas West.
Madam Chair, item 597, obviously this is the expansion of the Cove generating capacity, 94 million. Was that a loan or was the money out of the consolidated fund?
There's no money.
597.
Page 90.
597, expansion of general capacity. That particular project is now...
It's completed, but was it a
completed.
loan, the monies? Or monies from the consolidated fund? Or from the PSI?
Well, there was a loan that was done to take out that project, but I suspect there was some money, there was some from the consolidated fund, because we did talk about a loan to T&Tech for that particular project.
Yeah, thank you. So it just demonstrates whenever you want to have any major capital program, in order to fund the utilities, you have to take out loans.
North?
Madam Chair, I want to move on to water sources. I don't know if you're going to be highlighting the subheads.
Yes.
So I'll
yeah.
hold on then.
Okay, good,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
A member for Caroni Central. We're still on A, electricity.
No, I want to go to water sources
All right,
as
so
well.
we'll call that. So, member for Kumuta Manzinala.
Thank you. Yeah. Honorable Minister, line item 593, the electrification program. I see that you had in 2019 you had estimated 3 million, but you didn't utilize any, and now you have 5 million in 2020. Can you identify the projects that you plan in 2019 that didn't happen and you plan now in 2020?
All right, so the question is, what are the plans, what did we do in 2019, the projects that were done?
That you were planning to, because in effect, I don't see any revised estimate in 2019. So is it that you're going to have these?
So there was,
projects
so again, there was no, sorry, excuse me. So in 2019, there was allocations that came in late in 2019, and there were projects that were done in 2019. All right. The amount that was actually spent was 5.6 million that was spent in 2019. And there are projects then to be spent in 2020.
So this figure here represents both arrears and whatever projects that you have for this. What does this electrification program deal with specifically?
The electrification program this project is aimed at improving the expansion of the national grid through the provision of the electrical infrastructure to households. It assists with metering the costs of the installation of electricity infrastructure.
Honorable Minister, in light of the fact that it deals with the infrastructure and so forth, there is a number of requests from my constituency with regards to the lines that have been with bush overgrowing and causing a lot of problems to the infrastructure, and of course it impacts the households. What is being done in this aspect to deal with the number of overgrown bushes throughout the country, but I speak specifically for my constituency?
All right, but that wouldn't be dealt with in this particular area. I think T&Tech has an ongoing program to clear those lines. Again, you have been hearing a lot of glowing recommendations to when reports are made to the T&Tech's CEO, how quick he responds. I'm sure that is something that he will gladly respond to in clearing the lines, because that's part of recurrent expenditure in T&Tech. So if you are having a problem, I think his supervisors, he will gladly want to know why that is happening in your area and it is reached to that level. So please pass it on to him, or if you would like, let me know and I will try to see how I could get it addressed.
Okay, C, Postal Services. Member for Chaguanas West.
Madam Chair, I noticed that the postal code, line item 003 is complete. And that you have a refurbishment and construction in line item 005 of 2 million. What I want to know is that, with this postal code being completed and the addressing system completed, is this going to impact positively in the mechanization of the mail sorting system?
The short answer is yes. I would think that this will help, this will add positively in allowing for the delivery of the mail in a much more efficient manner. And again, it will also allow Trinidadians to be able, as you know, we all need a postal code in that delivery and people participating in a number of programs. We see the Postal Service playing a number of programs in a number of our digitization of the government services as we send out a number of things, speeding tickets and so forth, will now be delivered through. So we need to have an efficient addressing system, and that is what will help. The mechanization of the mail delivery, again, if you want to mechanize...
No, Minister, sorry to interrupt you, but I was talking about the sorting system instead of the manual hand sorting. And I used to be a mail sorter, my first job after E-levels.
You know, that sorting, I mean, again, as we tried, the sorting of that mail will probably, it could lead to us making an investment in mechanizing that process, but that will also have an impact on jobs.
Well, you then translate, if I may proffer a suggestion, you then translate them into delivery personnel.
Yes. Well,
transition them.
So it is that particular project of mechanizing the sorting is one that we will then entertain down the road, but with this, when this particular exercise is finished.
With respect to item 005, Madam Chair, to the Honourable Minister, the allocation of $2 million for the refurbishment and construction, a lot of the postal services that are owned by TT Post, they are really in a rundown state. Mm-hmm. And even at times at the headquarters, which I pass frequently on my way to Port of Spain, you need to have some level of ownership and aesthetic pleasing atmosphere for the public to engage.
Especially in light of the strategic location of the building.
Yes.
I hear you.
Major water sources. Member for Couva North, I believe this is where you are.
I am, ma'am. Thank you very much. Minister, under local water sources, line item 006, special skills training for water conservation. I'm seeing that as a new project for $5 million in 2020. Can you give some clarification on this particular project, please?
Well, again, you know, I mentioned a similar type program that I spoke to your colleague at Chaguanas East, where we talked about the SDG 12 that speaks to sustainable of our resources, both in the consumption of electricity, all right, and in the consumption of water. And it's the whole idea of developing programs that will assist bringing in some of our young graduates and to focus on that whole area of water conservation and energy efficiency and energy conservation and so forth. So it's an attempt to really not help us to not solve the problem by continue to increase production, but if we could suppress demand through conservation and efficiency, we will then be able to meet our needs. So it's looking at it, right? And again, you know, as I said, my colleague, if you notice, we are going to be focusing a lot in energy efficiency and energy conservation. So a lot of that is going to be driven by my colleague, Minister Leons.
Okay, thank you, Minister.
So members, just to get us back, I called A major water sources. Sorry, member, you were on B. Is any other questions on A major water sources? Member for Faizabad.
Madam Chair, Minister, with regards to line item 004, construction of the Avocat water wells and the allocation of 3 million, can you give us a sense of where we are with this project?
The wells, what we're doing is after putting in the well, we recognize that the lines need to also be changed. So this particular allocation, we have done the wells, and we are now allocating some funds to change out the lines because we recognize that the lines they were old and it requires a lot of leaks were occurring on the lines. So this particular project, this money is to help us to deal with that aspect of the project.
And how soon you expect that to be completed?
So in 2020, we are looking at installing about 3,200 meters of 200-meter pipelines from South Approach to the Avocat Junction. So we are looking to complete it in 2020. Yep.
Okay.
So good news for Faizabad.
Sorry, member for Caroni Central.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 006, upgrade of Carlson Field water treatment plant. What's happening there, really?
That project is the project we got funding for that project late in the year. So the project has funding to continue going forward. We will probably see whether we could have that particular project completed.
Completed this year.
Right? It completed this year. The project is about 71% completed, and it's hoping that it would be able to be achieved this year.
Okay, 007, other water projects. Can you just explain?
Please, member for Caroni Central and everyone, I know these are very tight. We are still under A. Any more questions on the A? Member for Shogunas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Line item 22, well development program. See that there is an estimate of $12 million for that. Could you indicate to us what is the nature of this well development program?
All right. So the deliverables for 2020, this program will drill or rehabilitate 20 wells in the following locations in Trinidad and Tobago. Rehabilitation of Arima number 13, rehabilitation of Sandy Grande 1 to 3, rehabilitation of Tucker Valley 15, 17, and 30, rehabilitation of Las Lomas 10 and 12, rehabilitation of Chatham 1, 2, 7, 13, and 14, rehabilitation of Granville 6, 10, and 13, the drilling and equipping of Las Lomas 12 and 13, and we are hoping that this will have a big increase in about 7. It will affect the benefits. About 72,000 people will benefit from this program.
Honourable Minister, could you indicate, not in this current situation, but by way of writing the list of contractors who are participating in this wells program?
Okay, sure.
Mutumanzilila, are you?
You know the names of the.
Okay, all right.
That's a
So,
smart man.
B, local water sources. C, transmission and distribution mains. F, other water projects. I believe this is where you are, Shogunas East? No? Okay, member for Caroni Central.
Just asking the minister if he'd explain what that item is, non-revenue water reduction program.
This particular program is really, as you know, non-revenue water is water that you lose as a result of leaks in one area, but also a lot of revenue water, a lot of water that you're not getting revenue for. This particular item here is going to look at helping us to buy some equipment to help in the execution. Remember the question before as to why we were renting out all of the equipment, and yes, we are going to purchase some backhoes to particularly allow us to execute some of these jobs in-house with some equipment. So we're using a combination of continue to rent and buying some equipment. So this is what this 4 million is about.
Okay, could I go on to 006, Madam Chair?
I believe I'll take you again, Caroni Central. Member for Shogunas West, you have something on the F other water projects?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yeah, other water projects, F, yeah.
No.
Below.
The only thing on the other water projects is 007. Yes, F.
Okay.
All right. So then I go on to I, water and sewage. Member for Caroni Central.
Okay, and I wanted to ask a question on 006 there. Replacement of tank at Tucker Valley. I see no allocations there. Does that mean that that was done, that the tank was replaced?
Yes.
It was completed?
Yes.
Okay.
Member for Shogunas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the Honourable Minister. What is the status of, under item 002, the silting and rehabilitation of Hillsborough Dam in Tobago? I see there is an estimate of 10 million. What is the status of that project?
Well, that project, we have started the enabling work on that project. So this year we did some enabling work. First, we have also gotten all approvals to do the project, the CET and so forth. The enabling work is started, and we are about to issue a contract for the actual desilting work. That project will start this year in this quarter by December, hopefully. And it will be a project that will probably be completed over a two-year period. But the enabling work to facilitate the actual desilting has actually started this year. So it has finally started.
Member for Shogunas East? Okay. All right, so we go on now to item 004, social infrastructure. Item 005, multi-sectoral and other services. Other honorable members, item 005 spans 2 pages. Therefore, I will announce the project groups. A, administrative services. Member for Shogunas East.
Madam Chair, if I can crave your indulgence, I didn't hear you call welfare services C, and I wanted a question under that, which is on page 94.
Okay, so that's item 004, social infrastructure.
Yep. On line item 002. If you pass it, it's okay. But,
okay. All right, so we at item 005, multi-sectoral, which I say spans 2 pages. So we at A, administrative services. Member for Caroni Central.
2 questions, Chair. 055. Adopt and implement integrated water resources management. What is that project? 500,000 is allocated.
Well, it is the adoption of, it is the integrated water resource policy, right, which is the development and implementation of an annual program of works based on the difference between the revised. It is the whole idea of we have developed an action plan. We have developed an action plan, or we are going to develop an action plan to implement the policy with regard to integrated water supply management. The whole integrated water supply management, which is what we spoke about, the whole bringing together of managing and the separation of the water from the Water Resource Agency from WASA. That, together with, after the consultations that was done, there are a number of other small initiatives that we feel that we could implement coming out of that consultation.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Community Water Improvement Program. What is that one?
This is a program whereby we recognize that there are a number of communities, small communities. All right, those are communities where you're receiving less than 24/3 supply, 24/1, lots of communities where there are no water at all, and they're just small works that needs to be done in expanding the grid, and in trying to get, first to begin, there is close by water, but there needs to expand the grid to get water to them. So we have identified a number of these small projects, a number of these small areas, and we have been attempting to get water to these particular areas. We have a list of projects that we have looked at in 2019, and then we have a list of projects of areas that are not getting water at all, or areas that are getting water 24/1, 24/2. And therefore, we just need to do some tweaking to the system to be able to improve. So it might be just to change the pipes that are small, and you need to expand the pipes to get more flow of water to the area.
Okay. Member for Kamucha Mansinala.
Thank you. Madam Chair, thank you. Honorable Minister, there are 3 of such projects in my constituency, and you don't need to give me it now, but if it's possible for you to identify to me if those 3 projects are already, in fact, will be one on your listing, please, in my constituency.
Get with me after. Okay.
East.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line item 063, 5 million again. Is that the similar projects that we would have seen so far? So,
yes. No, this now, again, within the ministry, as you know, we have also developed the whole energy efficiency and energy conservation action plan. Now, there is a number of items to roll out, not at the utilities, but then the action plan, there's the public relations that needs to happen. We realize that there's a lot of misinformation that I thought, the whole bulb initiative, I recognize that there's a lot of work that needs to be done in educating the population on the LED lighting systems and how they could enhance to reduce their own bills. And therefore, there's that whole series of programs that came out of the energy efficiency and energy conservation program that we also need to roll out educational programs that is part of that work. And the setting up of an appropriate unit within the ministry itself, again, to be supervised by our parliamentary secretary to have that work executed. Right?
how many persons you contemplate might be involved in a project of this nature?
But again, we have budgeted. In this particular year, we have taken an allocation of 5 because we hope to get this program going. I mean, we are now staffing that particular department, doing those type of resources. And should we need, as we roll it out, should we need additional money, I think we will probably have to come for a greater expansion, come the mid-year review.
Okay.
Member for Shogunas West, I don't know if you have anything under this. Administrative Services, I believe your hand was up.
Yes, I wanted to. Okay, I just wanted to talk to the Minister about 049, the drought management, the development of a water supply drought management plan, and whether or not that when he rolls out that plan, that we get it prior to the dry season or early in the dry season, so that therefore the necessary adjustment and education can be made, because he already has the plan in place.
Nothing.
No,
Well,
it is completed.
as I said, the project, the plan itself, but I mean, even in the absence of that written document, which we feel that is important, that you must have a written document so someone could then use. But there is an action plan, and we have been rolling out elements of that action plan without an actual manual in place then.
Okay. H, meteorological services. Member for Couva North.
No, it's G, not H. Sorry.
Member for Chaguanas West.
Procurement of a geostationary operational environmental satellite receiving system.
That's part of an upgrade. That's a fancy word to upgrading your meteorological system to bring it in line, because there was some, if I recall, there was the alignment of it with the international standards, and to be able to get information, readily information, we needed to do some upgrades, and this is what this is attempting to do.
As you on that, Honorable Minister, there has been a perennial problem with the road to the Doppler system in the central area. I take it that problem from the meteorological department has been cured. Accessing there, check on it.
Well, you know, the meteorological department hasn't complained.
Okay, we go on now to G, sanitary services. Member for Couva North.
Thank you, ma'am. Minister, line item 013, upgrade of recovery and recycling facilities, plant and equipment. I see that as a new project and 5 million allocated for that. Can you say where these recycling facilities are and what type of plant and equipment you'll be upgrading?
Well, there is a whole NAPDEFCO plant. We are looking to bring the beverage container bill. We have spoken about it. And therefore, we are hoping that when that plant is brought up, we'll need to upgrade the facilities, because the plant will then have to be taken on increased volumes. So that money is catering for the upgrade of that particular plant to deal with, the increased volumes anticipated under the beverage container bill.
Member for Chaguanas West? Okay, so we can now go on to the Infrastructure Development Fund. This is at page 197. Item 003, Economic Infrastructure. Honorable members, this item spans 2 pages, and therefore I'll call it according to the project groups. B, local water resources. F, other water projects. Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With respect to the wastewater expansion on the F, item 006 and 002, both items are funded by the IDB. Based on the public sector investment program, the Malabar project is completed. But the San Fernando wastewater program is 68% complete, and they both started at the same time. What are the problems being encountered at the San Fernando wastewater treatment project? No? No, after, and I want to complete that because I heard the utterance of the Minister of Health. The current administration increased the contract by $19 million because of the excuse they gave, or the rationale they gave, to put it differently, is that the contractor underbid for certain equipment. And as a result, because he said that he didn't envisage the cost to be that. so that there was an increase of 19 million US, and your mantra is value for money. But other than that, with the increase to 19 million US additional to the fixed price contract, which was internationally and competitively bid, what is the reason for the delay beyond that?
I want to endorse the sentiments that was just mentioned by the minister. It was a bad contractor. This particular contractor has had problems. We have been working with this contractor. The IDB and ourselves have been working with this contractor, and the contractor is a bad. The contractor has had severe challenges in executing this particular project. We have been trying to keep it as tight as possible. You alluded to one of the issues that has gone into arbitration to deal with the issue, all right? And our hands are in the lion's mouth, as they say. It is already in place. There's going to be tremendous uproar in trying to stop a project like this in the midstream and so you want to get it completed. We have worked. When I took office 2 years ago, we were like about 35%. We have got it up now to about 6, right? And I think it has actually, it is up to close to about 78% now. So it has actually gotten a lot better, and we are looking to have the project completed very early next year.
I just want to respond, Madam Chair, that this contractor was selected using IDB procurement rules, and that therefore, when the Honorable Minister of Finance says that you get a bad contractor or you chose a bad contractor, it was done in accordance with multilateral guidelines.
And I recognize that. That doesn't mean it's not a bad. It wasn't.
Here. One of the problems with those procurement processes is that quite often you end up with the wrong contractor, because you have to follow a particular approach. And quite often the necessary due diligence isn't done. And in this particular case, I am certain that sufficient due diligence was not done. And this is why you picked a bad contractor.
I just want to respond to that, because it seems to me that the Minister of Finance has a level of relativity in the context of due diligence. Because this contractor, Acciona Agua, was the same contractor who bid on the wastewater project at what they said was half the price, and that therefore it was not the lowest contractor who won that project. So then he was a good contractor, and now you're saying that we chose a bad contractor. Thank you.
You did choose a bad contractor. It is your fault. You stuck us with it, and we're struggling with your bad decision now.
I would suggest that you take it to the IDB.
I will. I will.
Did pick a good contractor in the first or the other one. So, but say, if I have to give credit, in the case of Malabar, that was a good contractor, and this one is a challenge.
Clarity, Madam Chair, that the minister at that time, and I don't want to speak in the third person, that we had nothing to do with the procurement of the contractor. It was a process managed and carried out by the IDB in conjunction with WASA.
Madam Chairman, just let me say that since then we have raised concerns with the IDB, but because of the process, they have still insisted that we continue along these lines. But we have raised our concerns, and it has caused some sleepless nights for us, because this is a contract that really should have been completed already.
G, sanitary services. I, water and sewage. Item 005, multi-sectoral and other services.
I have a question on page 198, Madam Speaker. Please indulge me. Item
that's provided that you tell me you have no questions on item 005.
No, I have none there. Rehabilitation of the Scarborough wastewater treatment plant. What is the status of this project? I see that it has been completed. How many homes are now connected to this plant?
The rehabilitation of the Scarborough Waste.
Yeah.
I could get that number to you. I don't have it offhand.
Yeah, I will just, by way of just explanation, when this plant was built in the 1980s, only about 5 homes were connected. Subsequently, we got an IDB grant to refurbish the homes in the area to connect. So I just wanted to know if that project is completed, because there was leaching and bleaching taking place as a result of persons not connected in the shoreline areas.
The answer to your question, the number of people that are connected, I will provide. But the project is completed.
Very good.
It's working well, and it is providing the necessary benefit with regard to the outflow to the Boko area and so forth, and that it is achieving its objective.
Good.
So, honorable members, the question is that the sum of $2,791,253,400 for head 39, Ministry of Public Utilities, stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $2,791,253,400 for head 39, Ministry of Public Utilities, now stand part of the schedule. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Mr. Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Ms. Pierre. Is there, you will excuse, thank you very much. Ministry of Works. No, we'll have to. Head 43, Ministry of Works and Transport, $2,548,280,000. I will now invite the Minister of Works and Transport to make a brief opening statement, not exceeding 5 minutes.
Madam Chair, the Ministry of Works and Transport is one of the largest ministries in Trinidad and Tobago, with responsibility for the provision of high-quality infrastructure and the management of an integrated transportation system which meets the needs of the public. In particular, the ministry undertakes drainage, road and highway construction, bridge construction, traffic management, provision of public transport infrastructure and services, port construction, and coastal protection work. The ministry has 12 technical units, 11 support units, and 11 statutory bodies and agencies under its remit. In financial year 2019, the ministry executed capital works on approximately 200 projects to the public and continued and started work on another 100 projects valued at $881 million. These work represents approximately 70% of its budgetary allocation in the financial year of $1.259 billion. Under our current program, we initiated over 500 projects. In fiscal 2020, the ministry have been allocated $3.55 billion, which amounts to approximately 7% of the total national budget of $53.036 billion. In respect to the total capital budget of $3.23 billion, the ministry received 23% of the total, or $1.249 billion, for its 2020 capital program of works. With this significant allocation, the ministry will undertake 72 capital projects and implement work intended to improve its service delivery via the purchase of new buses, the inter-island vessels, commissioning of a new technology such as the spot speed and red light enforcement camera system, introduction of a demerit point system, and a new number plate system, as well as the upgrade of the marine infrastructure, among others. Via its highway division, the ministry is responsible for the upgrade and maintenance of 2,130 kilometers of roadway and 1,084 bridges throughout Trinidad. The ongoing major highway upgrade projects, such as the Solomon Hultroy Highway extension to Point Fortin, the extension of the Churchill Roosevelt Highway to Sani Grande, the upgrade of the Maruga Road, and the construction of a first-class route to Valencia to Toco, will add an additional 70 kilometers and over 15 bridges to its inventory. A direct benefit of infrastructure upgrade and expansion includes employment over the last 4 years of over 4,750 jobs have been generated by the ministry capital projects. Other indirect benefits improve productivity as a result of better access to jobs, healthcare, education, and social services. The improved infrastructure has also increased safety on our national roads, which is illustrated in the decline in fatal road traffic accidents from a high of 128 in 2015 to 109 in 2018 and 72 to date for 2019. In examining the ministry budgetary allocation, I urge my colleagues to keep in mind that the figures in the estimates of expenditure are based on projections which the Ministry of Finance utilized when it commenced the difficult task of preparing a national budget. Therefore, the revised allocation for 2019 and the resulting increase and decreased in the 2020 allocation generally do not reflect those in the records of the ministry and its agencies. In fact, the ministry revised allocation for 2019 is $3.7 billion and not $2.92 billion as stated in the estimate of expenditure. Further, while we recognize that our national economy is still in a period of recovery and proper financial management is an essential practice, be assured that we will continue to closely monitor and manage the ministry's budgetary allocation in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance to ensure the efficiency and effective utilization of these funds. In particular, we will seek to confirm that adequate fundings are available for the ministry ongoing and planned work during the financial year, and also to identify savings as they become available for transfer to critical areas in deficit. Further, during the annual mid-year review exercise, we will again seek the assistance of the Ministry of Finance to allocate supplementary funding for the various programs and projects where absolutely necessary. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I look forward to your questions. Which one are we going to take?
Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $2,548,280,000 for Head 43, Ministry of Works and Transport, stand part of the schedule. Honorable members, the sum of $2,548,280,000 for Head 43, Ministry of Works and Transport, is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure, the draft estimates of the revenue and expenditure of the statutory boards and similar bodies and of the Tobago House of Assembly, and the draft estimates of development program. We shall now proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. We're at page 268. Subhead 01, Personnel Expenditure, Item 001, General Administration. Item 002, Highways. Member for Couva South.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Minister, under 02 wages and COLA, there's an increase of $9 million in your 2020 estimates. Could you just elaborate why the increase?
Wages for the past 2 financial years, 2018 and 2019, and current wages, as well as to meet wages for new staff being hired for ongoing recruitment exercises in the different districts.
How much new staff will be recruited, and what will they be doing?
Sorry? 36, right? It's approximately 36 new staffs.
And what will, in terms of job classification?
It's for various classifications under the highways division.
And you said arrears of wages, right? In terms of, for what period?
2018 and some in 2019.
So, in terms of, employees at the Ministry of Works, are they up to par in terms of their collective bargaining process? Because I heard you said there was an agreement for 18 and 19.
No, I didn't say any agreement.
No,
and if you look at the allocation, we actually got an estimate in 2019 of 105, and what we're getting now is really 100.
No,
so it's not really an increase.
No, I heard you said, and I stand to be corrected, that in terms of arrears for 2018 and 2019, so that will point me in a direction that there was an agreement in terms, or a collective agreement that was signed.
No, remember the opening, I did indicate that the figures that you pick up, like the 191, would be projected at the time. And if you look at, we got really 100 as the estimate. You go back to 2019 where we got 105. So although you're seeing an actual increase of $9 million, yeah, it's not necessarily an increase, but we do have some outstanding arrears for 2019, which will come out of this.
And again, the arrears is in relation to what period for collective bargaining then?
Right. So it is not in terms of any negotiation. It's just a follow-on from the previous years. It's not any negotiation that there is with the bargaining unions.
And you said there's not any follow-on from
any negotiation with any unions.
So, and if you are saying it is a res, so you're just giving workers increases, yeah?
No, you see, and that's why I had a long opening statement which suggested that the figures that the Ministry of Finance will pick up is really a projected figure. So when you have here $91 million as the revised estimate, it's just an estimate. The estimate for 2020 is 100 million. The estimate from 2019 was 105 million. So we actually got a dish, but it's just because of the timing. Because of the timing, it looks like that.
So again, Minister, I have to ask you this, sir. So the wages and salaries projections that is stated on page 268 from a highways point of view, is what period does this reflect? 12 to 14 to 16 to 19? What it is?
Okay, so there's no arrears in terms of the, if I get what you're trying to find out, is if this is an arrears of any back pay or any negotiations that took place before. The answer to that is no. Because of when they took up the figures, the difference here would have been from the time they took up the figures to when the actual financial year ended. That is more clear.
Minister, I rest my case.
Yeah, I better we go on from that.
Member for Tabakit.
A little different. On the highways here, you have the wages on cola, whether it's 91 million or 100 million. It is mute to in my view. But my concern is, what number of workers does this represent?
All right.
Are these workers located in different divisions in the country?
Yes.
And how efficiently are they being used? When you look at materials later on and you see only $3 million in materials and supplies to this division.
Well, okay.
That's my concern.
Yeah. Well, we do
the efficiency of use.
We do work with the money allocated to us, and as I did indicate again at the open, we do transfer money into different votes. And I can assure you that in terms of material, we will be transferring into other areas because we do a lot of work now in-house as compared to contracting out some of the smaller services. So yes, this is one area that we will be transferring funding into.
Yeah. See, Madam Chair, I know we are going item by item, but some of this will make much more sense if we could have related it to, for example, the section on material and supplies, where, like the minister just said, they contract out services, and other contracted services, there is $60 million. So if we knew what that other $60 million represent, we'll know how efficient, these number of workers, whether it's highways, maintenance, construction, or what, are being utilized. Because, I was the Minister of Works, and I'm very concerned about the number of people that sit down doing nothing in those locations. The number of pieces of equipment that are down and not being repaired.
And I share your concerns on that. And
how do we make the system more efficient?
Yeah,
that's my concern with this.
It is something that we are looking at. Yes, there is a challenge there. Some of the teams, as we call them, they're supposed to have a certain amount of members in them. And once you have some shortfall there, you find that the amount of work that you're supposed to get done, you don't normally get it done. So we're looking at filling all these vacancies to ensure that, one, we have the appropriate staff for the job, and two, where we have funding that may not be utilized, we transfer it to ensure that we have goods and services.
So there will be evidence where a lot of money was transferred to Highways Division in the last budget?
We did transfer. Not necessary, but this is what we're looking at this point in time. What we're trying to make sure is that even places like the Aquasanta plant, where we actually produce our own mix, that we have sufficient funding for things like that, because we would have saved significantly on the in-house road patching.
Yeah. So, Mr. Very quickly, wages and COLA represent this 100 million or 91 million, represent how many workers?
Okay. This is the multiplier establishment. Yeah. Right. So under the Highways Division, we have the permanent. We have 1,755 staff. Permanent. Then you have the casual, the regular, which gives you a total of 1,899 staff.
Okay. And Minister, I make the point just one more time, that this 1,899 persons on Highways Division just have $3 million in terms of purchase of materials and supplies. And I cannot see how you could effectively utilize 1,899 persons with $3 million in supply, because your other contracted services is 60 million.
2 ways I can account for that. A lot of the labor does not require material. A lot of it is cutting, highway diverges, and cleaning and so. And the challenge we have is that if we want to increase that, is where we take it from.
And I understand that. But Minister, if I may say, if you drive through, as you live in that area, on the Manzilla-Mayara Road, you'll see for how long the grass hasn't been cut and it's actually coming on the road. If you drive through Claxton Bay, you'll see the same thing in Macaulay, where the grass is coming. Where are these people? Why are they not there on the job with some, periodic maintenance program? This is the same very Highway Division people. 2,000 people now. We're talking about a lot of persons.
No, but those are the establishments. Those are the establishments, and we do have a lot of vacancies which we are in the process of filling. But that, in my opinion, is not necessarily an excuse, because we do have the complement of CPEP. We do try to use URP, and I agree with you that some of our the roadways should be in a
so
better
Mr.
condition.
I'll give you one example. You so you'll understand the concern. I speak here for, all my colleagues. From Forest Park going into Tortuga, right? That road, I wrote you several times about all the trees that are on the road and everything. Eventually, after 4 months of pleading, the residents themselves had to find overhead trucks and find equipment and so on to clear their own road to go there, which was not done by the ministry.
Yeah. So there are two reasons for that. We do have a significant amount of vacancies, which affects the teams. And one of the areas that I identified as a major challenge is the fact that the cadre workers in the ministry would have been the same when the amount of roadways that the highway had under them was probably about half.
So you don't have 1899 then?
No, those are that's the establishment.
So about how much you have?
We have probably less than about maybe 14
1,400?
1,400, yes.
Minister, that's still quite a,
Yeah, but then,
substantial
you see,
amount.
yeah, but then that is divided throughout Trinidad. And if you look at the amount of, when this 1899 was developed, the Highways Division probably had half the amount of responsibility that they have right now. So what we're doing right now is reorganizing that department, because we're working with a cadre of staff that was established probably about 30 years ago? 30 years ago, when we had significantly less highways and responsibility.
Is this the same highway people you are training now to put back up the cable barriers?
Well, the people from the Highways Division, yes. And it seemed to be working for us because the cost of maintenance through the contractor that was hired, when I came in, we were owing him, I think, $18 million. And
But-
although that is
yeah.
a very good system,
Yeah.
it is very, very
But, you know,
expensive
you would
to maintain.
recognize, Minister, that half of the cable barriers are down now, you know.
Well,
for those of us who go every day down that highway.
The reason for that is that if you fix it tonight and somebody touches it tomorrow, it don't just fall in that one spot. It falls
Yeah, sure,
in
the
a
length.
distance. So,
Right.
and I have seen that happening where
So-
I went one day to see what they do, and maybe 2 days after you go back and you see it down. It's because somebody touched it lower down. Unfortunately, we were not able to recover that money from any insurances
I
so
know.
far. But the cable barriers, yes, it's a good system, but it is very, very expensive to maintain. And so we have decided to buy some of the equipment. We are renting equipment now, and we're doing it in-house.
Member for Caroni East.
Minister, if I am not mistaken, I heard you mention that what we are examining here is really not a true reflection
Well, it's
of, no,
Yeah, go ahead.
of the revised estimates and estimates for 2020. And you said, in fact, what is down here as 2.9 is in fact is 3.7. I think when you read it out, this is what I got from it. So I'm just wondering, how does
3.2.
3.
Yeah, let me just get that exact figure here.
From what you read?
Yeah, 3.2, 3.7.
Yeah. So what is reflected here in the Ministry of Finance budget documents is really not a true picture.
Because
of
these are
what-
estimated figures at the point in time.
Well, we are getting that here when, I think Madam Chair will back me up on this, that we are getting figures, and every ministry is coming saying that these are not the true figures for revised estimates, because bills are coming in and bills are coming in. So I wonder when does the Ministry of Finance do their reconciliation with the various ministries?
Madam
to allow that
Chairman,
to come in?
let me deal with this again because members of the public who have not seen the response to this issue before, which I've done 3 times now doing for the 4th time, the 5th according to Tabakit. The Ministry of Finance will do a projection for the month of September because it starts to close off all of its calculations in the first week in September. So it does a projection. And we have an annual exercise which you, member, have participated in 19 times, because I heard you say the other day you've been an MP for 20 years. The annual closing of the accounts in December. You said you've been here for a while, okay? For a while, fine. So you've been an MP for 10 years. And you know that there's an annual exercise at the end of the calendar year where we close the accounts in December, at which time all of the actual numbers are presented to this Parliament. You know very well these are just estimates. I don't know why you have to keep going over and over the same thing.
3.7.
That is not significant.
$800 million in 1 month.
That is not significant.
So 2.9 to
MP,
3.7, that's $800 million is not significant?
We have $1 billion outside in uncashed checks right now as
No,
we
you're
speak.
making flimsy excuses for your
Flimsy
inefficiency.
excuses?
You're making flimsy
You have been in
excuses for your
government.
inefficiency.
You
We are
have
being
been in
asked-
government.
So why are you bringing us in
You're
this
just making up
exercise?
stories.
Why are you
Just 1 minute. You will answer, Minister of Finance, you will answer.
800 million?
This is exercise in futility.
800 million.
Okay.
Madam
So,
Speaker, if I
800
may,
million?
Just
Yes.
making the member knows
Minister
that
Finance,
this
we
is
have
how
Minister
it is
Finance.
always done. This is not the first time. As he rightly said, he's been in Parliament for quite some time. And the way these books are published is how it has always been done.
Under your administration too.
So I don't know where he...
That's not
That
true.
is not
That
true.
is not
That
true.
is not true,
That
Madam
is not
Chairman.
true. You're making up stories. You're
That is
pretending,
not
you're playing for the
true.
camera. You're gallerying for
All
the
right,
camera.
so, okay, if all the cross talk could be completed now.
Yeah, thank you,
I
Madam
know
Chair.
people might be getting a little hungry, but I would like us
I said what
to really focus for another 15 minutes, another very productive 15 minutes, so we can make a little inroad into here. Okay?
Minister of Finance,
Let's
you heard
go.
that?
So we now at 003, traffic management. Zero, 04, central planning unit. Member for Caroni is? I'm calling your aid because of your seniority and something you mentioned last week that happens at that lower half of the room that sometimes, impedes your hearing. I'm asking you to help control whatever happens at that lower part of the room so we can get through. Yes, please. Thank you very much. Item 004, Central Planning Unit. Item 005, Drainage. Member for Couva South.
Hello. Under 16, contract employment, could you tell us how you plan to?
Where are we? Okay, so 005, which a drainage, that is page 270, member for Tabaki.
Oh, sorry.
Looking at, again, wages and COLA, 46 million projected, 44 million revised. Now, again, if you have, let's say, 1,400 workers under drainage, as you may have, where are we getting the resources to effectively use these persons? Because when you look at drainage again, materials and supplies and repairs, it's very, very negligible. Very, very. Maybe $2 million.
Madam Chair, the actual revise is 52, so it's really the same figure that we got in.
And that's okay.
Right. So, and again, I would love to have more money, but you need to tell me where to take it from. I mean, I leave the Minister of Finance to decide on the allocation. What we do at the ministry is that we look in terms of especially drainage, because maybe it may present itself somewhere along here where we would have transferred funding to areas like these which we deem critical. So we would go back to our allocations, and if funding is required for materials or goods and services in critical areas like this, then we do our transfers. Yes.
Right? We get drainage is critical. So you have $46 million paying a number of workers. Do you have the equipment available to support the employment of these people? Or are they, or if not, what are they doing?
All right. Most of these will do river cleaning and so.
Right.
All right. So the ministry does have its equipment. Most of these these salaries here are for the manual labor, which does not really require the heavy equipment. We do a lot of desilting under another vote where we would actually rent equipment. So most of this here is for labor-intensive cleaning, because there are a lot of water courses that you really cannot put heavy equipment in.
Well, I probably disagree, because you can put small equipment also to deal with some of these smaller water courses.
And we do that under another vote.
Yeah, and what I'm saying, the time has come, because I was trying to do it when I was there, to revise how we operate with all this labor, because I believe there's about a 40% wastage in terms of the employment of people and what they're producing.
Well,
Not only here, in local government also, and the number of hours people just work or don't go to work or just go and do nothing. And we cannot afford, if we are talking about saving money, to continue to have this massive drain on productivity. We cannot afford it. And I'm advocating that you review the system to make people more productive. And if that means investing in smaller equipment to clean those drains and so on, it has to be done. Mr. Minister, for example, you're still putting people sometimes with cutlasses to cut along the highway, like CPEP is putting people with whackers to cut big areas on the highway, which they could take one piece of equipment and two persons and cut it where they have more than 10 people or 20 people employed now. Right? And I'm saying if it is to keep people employed, that's one thing. But if it is to make sure that we save money, that we can utilize to finish the schools, to fund the hospitals, to do this and that, I think we need to look carefully at how we are utilizing this. If it means retraining them, I think that we ought to retrain them also in the use of equipment. I believe, and I take responsibility also, maybe when I was a minister, that we didn't go far enough, that there's a need to revamp the utilization of labor on a more productive basis.
All right, and just, I've heard what you said, and just to give you the assurance, that is exactly what we're doing. And if you look at the amount of work that the Drainage Division was able to achieve this year, is significantly more, bearing in mind that post-2015, the Drainage Division went across the water resource. When it came back basically with a very skeleton staff in terms of the administrative level. We are rebuilding that capacity now, and we are trying our best to utilize the staff in such a way that we could actually get more with less. And we have been able to achieve significant improvements in the Drainage Division, I would say, within the last year or so. But I take everything that you say into context.
Very concerning.
Okay. Item 006, mechanical services. Item 007, maintenance. Member for Couva South.
Again, Madam Chair, Minister, we have wages and COLA, an increase of what, $13 million in your allocation for 2020. Could you tell us what will be done with this?
Yeah. So the actual revised was 58 million. So it's no, the actual, well, right. So the 45 is basically when it was a projected and picked up. I think this is sometime in the March. Yeah, whenever they would have picked it up. But the actual revise was 58,732,000, which is almost the estimate that we got. And we're getting 58 million this year. So there's no increase.
So what you are saying?
It's the same figure, basically. It's the same figure. There's no increase. You see, that's why my opening statement was a bit long, but what I tried to put across is exactly that these are estimates, and at the point in time when you pick them up, there could be a variance. So at that point in time, it was 45, but the actual expenditure was actually 58, which is exactly where we got now. So there's no increase, really.
No, but I mean, you are forcing me to go back to 2018, where there was 51.9 million.
Yeah.
So what, you hired additional staff or something?
In 20... Not necessarily. So
you just increase cost in terms of wages and COLA by $8 million, and you didn't increase the staff.
I could check what would have caused the increase and give it to you in writing. But what the 2019 and it's 2020 we're looking at, there's no increase from 2019 to 2020 allocation.
Item 008, construction.
Chair, Forced to ask the minister again under wages and COLA.
Same.
There's an increase of $3.2 million. He might tell me the same thing.
It is actually the same thing. And you see, I tried to simplify it at the beginning, but maybe it didn't.
I mean, Minister, you have the actual cost in terms of what is being spent is increasing, and you are saying that you have not hired additional staff. There is no increase wages based on new collective agreement was signed. And so I am forced to ask the question, unless something is happening at the Ministry of Works where we are not being told really, because you actually spending more money and you are saying that your staff complement remains the same. So I'm a bit puzzled how this is happening.
I tried to help you at the beginning by reading the opening statement.
No, you are not helping us. You know,
in 2019, the actual was 11,800,000, and in 2019, my actual revised is 11,335,000. So contrary to what you're saying is that there was an increase, there was not an increase. The challenge we have is that at the point in time when the estimate was taken, it shows 8.6 million. And the explanation for that is that it was an estimate at that time. The actual, because you wouldn't have the actual, but I have the actual here. It is 11,335,000, which is a little less than the 8,800,000 for 2019.
And that is what I'm asking. And this is where we are being forced to probe you. And we may conclude here that the Minister of Finance needs to send back these books to the printery.
Yeah. So,
You have recorded here 8.6 million. How are we to know that?
you see, it's the same.
This is not gallery. The Minister has...
Minister of Finance, this is asking.
Madam
this
Chair.
is not gallerying.
Yeah. These books are false because they don't reflect what is really happening. They're useless.
You're putting out fraud.
Okay. Minister of Finance, member for Caroni, Minister of Finance, member for Caroni East, and member for Couva South. Okay? Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance. Please. But both of us can't be speaking at the same time. All right. Minister of Finance. No, but you keep saying sorry, but you go. No, he's not attacking you. He said that is me. And you defended it already. You defended it. You'll settle it with him when you'll meet over lunch. Okay, so we're going on. Item 012, Unemployment Relief Program. Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance, there are certain words we can't say here. We know that. I know it's lunch. I really know it's lunch, but 5 more minutes. And we'll all be okay. So item 012, Unemployment Relief Program, member for Couva South.
Just for information, Mr. Minister, your salaries and cost of living allowance of $5,600,000, that takes care of all the full complement of the URP staff at the management level and so on? For public servants?
Public servants, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Item 1014, Transport. Item 015, Maritime Services. Are you prepared to go ahead? In a productive manner?
For 5 more minutes.
Subhead 02, Goods and Services. We're at page 274. Item 001, General Administration. Item 002, Highways. Member for Tabakit.
This is the point I'm making, Mr. Minister. Materials and supplies, 3 million, right? For approximately 1,400 workers, right? But then under other contracted services, you have $60 million allocated, right? But firstly, you had allocated 106 million in 2019. How come you only use, well, if this is not the correct figure, you'll tell me, $10 million? What happened there?
All right, just let me just say that. Material.
And what would be included under that other contracted services? But it was not used, 90 million, well, according to this.
Madam Chair, we would have transferred some of that funding to other areas, and some of these, some of this funding would have been utilized. We would have issued contracts. However, not all the bills would have come in at that point in time.
But what would be the composition of these other contracted services on the highways? Because you're allocating 50 million more, 60 million this year.
Right. One second. What is the other contracted services? 28. Pay outstanding bills. Yeah.
Cool it now. Go on.
In 2019, Madam Chair, 84 projects were completed at a cost of 33 million, and another 24 projects are ongoing. The division also undertook 17 emergency projects in the wake of Tropical Storm Karen at a cost of $10 million. In total, the division has 61 million in outstanding bills for 2019. So the answer to that is that we do have outstanding bills, and that is what the increase is for.
Mr. Minister, if I may suggest, I think that we have to look at the relationship between number of people employed and the materials they have to work with. You know, you might not believe
Member
me.
for Tabakit, this item has nothing to do with that. Other contracted services is contracts.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Other contracted
Do you know what I'm
services.
talking about?
Do you know what you're talking
Yes,
about?
I know what I'm talking about.
28 is for contracts.
You were Minister of Works also?
Yes, I was.
And I was a Minister
And
of
I know
Works.
it's for
And
contracts.
I know what I'm talking about.
It's not for materials.
So did you hear me refer to the $3 million just now? Or do you have selective hearing?
So, Member for Tabakit, please make your point.
No, I've made my point. I think the Minister understands what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say let us provide.
Member for Couva South and Caroni East.
Let us
me just say
provide.
Member for Tabakit.
Sorry, let us provide enough materials so that people are usefully employed. Mr. Minister, it'll be good if you do an audit, a physical audit of people who are supposed to be on their jobs doing what, and see that they come to work, maybe 7 and they go on. That some of them are there 4:30 in the morning, by 5:30 you're driving up the highway, they're packing up and they're going home, whatever they're doing. This is happening. This hurts me as a taxpayer of this country. Let me tell you that. It really, really hurts me. And it has hurt me all my life. Right? That's what you think. That's why I used to go out there in the field in the mornings, my dear friend, and see that people are doing what they're supposed to do. Whether I was in local government, whether I was the mayor, or whether I was in works, I was out there.
Member for Couva South.
Everything you're talking about occurred under your stewardship.
Member for Couva South. You have no other questions?
You're on contract employment?
No, I thought your hand was up again.
Yes, certainly.
Yes.
Okay.
And Caroni East.
So we on 276, Madam Chair? Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, contract employment, Minister, how do you intend to spend, or how many people do you intend to recruit in this fiscal year with this allocation?
The recruitment of 53 contract positions.
53 contract positions. What duration will these people be hired for?
Yeah. The normal contract period in the ministry is 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
And your advertisements will be in the newspapers and so on?
Yeah. Most of them are already in the newspaper.
In the newspaper?
Already.
Okay, thank you very much.
Member for Caroni East, you have a question?
Yes, just a short one. Honorable Minister, under other contracted services, it's reflected here that your revised estimate for 2019 is 10.2 million. But did I just hear you say that the real figure is $62 million? You added up something to show that it was $62 million. The outstanding amount.
Actually, it's more than that. It's actually $94,216,652.
You see, that's the point I'm making. Here it is, we have
but-
have something telling us it's 10.2 million, and you have a figure of 94 million for 2019.
All right, so member for Caroni East.
Let me deal with this, Madam
Emphasize
Chairman.
my point.
This is an important point. We operate the budget on a cash basis. At the end of the financial year, which is the 30th of September, any invoices for work done in the prior year carry forward into the next fiscal year. And therefore, there will be work that would have been done in fiscal 2019, which is not yet paid for, and will have to be paid for in fiscal 2020. What you're seeing here is the estimate based on actual payments made in 2019. It does not take account of commitments, because projects transcend financial years. And you know that. You're just playing to the gallery.
I guess, yeah.
What I'm saying, it is reflected here 10 million, and the minister is saying it's 90 million.
The minister is saying he has bills in hand of
commitments.
90 million. You carry forward, we were saddled with $4.5 billion in
That
VAT
when we are
arrears from you.
examining this, we don't know, we are unaware of what we are dealing with.
This
on
is the
examination of
actual
this.
expenditure,
So it
not the
throws this
commitments.
whole book out of alignment.
No, it doesn't. You were in government for 5 years.
I've
You
made
know
my
what
point.
the procedure is.
You can make your point.
You
I
are
have made my
playing
point.
to the gallery.
No, it's
You're
not
trying to
about
get a
gallery.
soundbite for the
It's
camera.
a matter of facts.
You are just
It's
pretending.
a matter of facts.
You are pretending.
This is
you
what
don't
you give to
understand.
us, and this is
You are playing to the gallery.
All right, so can we move on? I think this particular issue has been flogged.
Could I just ask the member for Caroni Central, who was a Minister of Planning and Development, to explain to his colleagues what these books represent? Because they don't seem to want to take it from us. He understands. As Minister of Planning and Development, I know exactly what these books represent. The member for Caroni Central also knows. So
Member for
could he
Caroni
please
East.
explain? Could he please explain to his
Member
colleagues?
for Caroni
Because
East,
they're
all of us
pretending
can't
now.
speak at the same time.
And Madam Speaker, we will not sit here and allow the member for Caroni East to say these are bogus figures. Since when these are bogus figures? That is not true. The member for Caroni Central knows exactly what these books represent. And we will not sit here and allow the member for Caroni East to try and pretend that he doesn't know.
All right, so can I now recognize a member for Caroni Central? You have a question to ask?
Just one simple question on 96, fuels and lubricants. I see that there's a significant increase there. I just want an explanation.
It's for outstanding payments on the fleet card. It's for outstanding payments.
Before?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so item 004, Central Planning. Item 003, Traffic Management. Item 004, Central Planning Unit. Item, member for Tabakit. Item 005, Drainage.
Yeah, just give him a
Member
hand
for
high up,
Tabakit. Member for Tabakit.
Yeah, Madam Chair, item 09. Okay, so here we have a case where we are renting and leasing vehicles and equipment to the extent of $30 million next year, right? And we had allocated 1 million in 2019, but we rented 41.3. So it means to say we exceeded the budget there by about $40 million. Was that part of the unplanned drainage program?
Well, that was a major part of the desilting program.
The Silton program. Okay. And the other contracted services now. You had 110 million allocated in 2019. Is it that you only paid out 6.6, and what amount would you have paid out on the other contracted services since you work on a cash basis? In other words, how much is owed on the other contracted services as a liability?
Okay, let me just go. That's 28.
Yes, 28, sorry.
We have approximately 45 desilting and construction project proposed. We have 26 million in bills brought forward.
Of the 110 million?
Yeah.
Okay. And you now propose 35 million
Yes.
for the next year. Why is it that these monies are not being paid, or most of it paid in the financial year? Is it that the government doesn't have the money and that they are really utilizing credit to run the government, like they utilize the VAT people's credit to run the government?
It depends on when the bills are produced, because we cannot pay without bills. So if the bills have to be submitted, and then we apply to the Ministry of Finance. So if for some reason or the other, the bills are not submitted on time, and there could be several reasons for that, then we can't apply for the money.
So
and pay the
contractors
bills.
complain, Mr. Minister, right, that they cannot get paid, and they have difficulty, and the government isn't paying, and 3 and 4. Are you suggesting, or in any way implying, that it is the contractors who are failing to submit their bills on time to give you sufficient time within the financial year to process?
I can't say that, but I can tell you that I had a contractor come to me last week for outstanding bills from 2014, and there were 26 contracts issued. And when we went through the audit, we could not find about 15 of the contracts. So there are several reasons why contractors may complain. And it does not have to be only that the releases from the Ministry of Finance. Bills, as you will know from previous years, have to be audited. And sometimes in the audited process, a lot of questions come up. But we do have a policy that the first call on the allocation is really the previous year's commitments. However, that can only take place if they are authentic.
And those 26 contracts you're referring to were under drainage?
I'll be surprised. A lot of it was some was under highways and URP. Yeah.
Member for Coover South, you still have a question?
Yes, Madam Chair. With respect to your drainage and contract employment, Minister, as we speak, there's some heavy flooding on the Rice Road and in the Barataria area and so on. You are planning to hire how many people with this increased allocation?
Contracts is...
Contract employment.
We are seeking to rebuild the capacity of the drainage via employment of staff on contract to complement the existing staff. What we are looking at in this area here, 4 drainage supervisors, 16 drainage work supervisors, 9 drainage engineers, technical, 1 drainage foreman.
And you are hiring them not within the permanent establishment and contract?
Or they will be hired on contract.
Any particular reason why not on the permanent establishment?
Because of the time. Because of the time. Yeah, because of the time it takes to have these people in place. And I want to remind members again, when this division came back to the ministry, post-2015, it came back with a very depleted staff. And that is a major challenge with the drainage division in order why it cannot, get some of the work done in a shorter time span. So what we're trying to do is to build back the capacity, not only in the drainage division, but in all the areas in the ministry that have been lacking for years.
When you say depleted, people retired, people contract came to an end, and so on?
Some of them would have stayed on and went to public utilities.
So
It was a total, it's a situation that I really, don't want to go back too much to, because we're actually trying to take the division forward, and I want to use the opportunity to compliment the drainage staff for the fantastic work they did this year, 2019, in terms of assisting us with to minimize the flooding.
All right, well, there's some flooding currently taking place.
And I can assure you that the runoff is taking place very fast.
Item 006, mechanical services. Item 007, maintenance. Item 008, construction. Item 009, environmental health and safety unit. We're at page 282. Item 010, traffic warden unit. Item 011, program monitoring and evaluation unit. Item 012, unemployment relief program. Item 014, transport division. Item 015, maritime services. Item 016, procurement unit. Okay, so it would now be a convenient time for us to take the break for lunch. All right, so that we will resume at subhead 03, and we will resume at 2:45. No. I want to say 2:45. Can we do that? All right, 3 o'clock. We'll resume, so we take the suspension now, and we resume at 3 o'clock.